Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It's March 10th. I'm down by Fairbury, Nebraska. It's about 2 hours away from Omaha. I'm gonna hike into Rock Glen Wildlife Management Area. I've never been to this wildlife management area before. I'm gonna do a little scouting, do a little shed hunting, see if I hear any turkeys this afternoon. It's about mid-afternoon, so just gonna go for a hike, do a little exploring, and see what I find. This is the parking lot at Rock Glen Wildlife Management Area. I'm going to head up this fence line first. The management area actually makes an L shape right here, so I'm going to head up this fence line and then cut back to the south along the fence, and then I'll probably just make a big loop and maybe come back out this trail right here. I've never been down here before, so just gonna start doing a little exploring. Just got over the second hill. I've just been following the fence line down from the parking lot. Looks like the property's mostly open pasture or grassland with some deep draws that cut through it. I'm gonna try and search some of those draws, walk up and down them, see if I can find some antlers in those while I'm out here. Been picking up some trash while I'm going. Hopefully that'll bring me some good luck, and maybe we'll find an antler or two today. This is an aerial photo of Rock Glen Wildlife Management Area. It's right next to Rock Creek Station State Historic Park. It's just south of there. It came down 575th Avenue, parked in this parking lot right here. At this point, I walked along this fence on the way in. At this point in the video, I'm just coming up to the top of this little draw right here. I'm going to come back to this map as I go through the video to show you where I'm at in the property. My goal was to get to these two fields down here and see what those were, so I was planning on walking down this fence line until I got to here and then searching these draws for sheds while I worked my way toward those fields and then come back out. Alright, I just came down through that first draw, walked up the hill to where the fence turns right here, turns and heads south. Looks like there's a lot more trees and draw that way, a lot more elevation change, so I'm actually gonna follow the fence down a little bit right here until I get down by the trees and then start working my way down the draw and see what we can find. It's a little windier up here on the hill, so sorry if that's getting picked up on the camera, but I'm just gonna try and give you guys a look at what this looks like. It looks like someone was driving up here when it was muddy out, but other than that, I haven't really seen a ton of tracks. There's a few tracks. It's hard to tell if they're from this fall or not, but I didn't see a ton of tracks and stuff up in the parking lot. There's the road coming into the parking lot's just dirt. It's kind of a minimum maintenance road, so it wouldn't surprise me if most people didn't want to drive on it this winter and spring when all the snow was melting, but I'm guessing it finally just dried out in the last week or so. But just gonna head up here and keep our eyes open, see if we can see or hear some turkeys or find some sheds. I do kind of like the fact that this piece of public land has a little different geology to it. It's kind of nice to have something a little different, a little change here and there. A lot of Nebraska is grassland mixed with, you know, cedar tree infested draws here and there. Most of it's pretty flat, pretty similar. But I did notice that there's a lot of color change, a lot of different geology in this piece of wildlife management area. There's a lot more rocks around. So if you're looking for something that's a little different view wise to go out on a hike, just make sure you take your trash out with you. I just left the trail back over there. I kind of just followed the top of this draw down. It comes to a point right out here. Then it goes back up. I was going to just go back up around and follow that other one down to its point. It looks like a bunch of these trees got burned out not too long ago, so there's not a ton of grass down in the draws, so you can almost just walk the ridges right here and look down into all the way down into the bottom and the other side to see if there's any antlers laying on the ground, but which is probably a catch-22. There's probably not, deer probably weren't using it as much since all the trees are burned out, but it is easier to see down in there if there was one down in there. So I don't know if this got burned out on purpose or on accident, but I do like to look for antlers on these little points where these draws come together. It seems like bucks like to bed up on these little points. I actually just ran back into the trail right here that they drive on, so I'm actually going to follow that down here a little ways and see where that goes. I thought there was a couple things that looked like fields down here in the bottom of this wildlife management area, but I'm going to have to go back and look at my phone again. And all I did was take a screenshot of the aerial photo so I could, or a couple of them. I took about 6 of them so I could have a map in my pocket when I was hiking, and then use the draws and the finger draws to figure out where I was at and where I needed to go or where I wanted to go. Looks like this trail just wraps around right here and back up the other side, so I'm going to follow this for a little bit, and then I'm going to stop and take a look at where I'm at and figure out what's next. Just followed the trail out of the bottom of that draw right there. I'm going to head up over this ridge, hit the next draw, and then follow that all the way down. That's where those things on the aerial photo looked like food plots or fields, or I don't know what it is down there, but that's just kind of where I wanted to get to. I'll show you on the laptop on an aerial photo what I'm talking about, but looks like there was a couple fields, one on each side of the draw. So I'm actually gonna come up here to the tree line and just follow the ridge down. That way I can shed hunt while I go. I'm about probably 3.5 miles into the hike just because I've been zigzagging and shed hunting, but just ran into this rub right here. That's a lot bigger cedar tree, a lot more damage to it, so it's a pretty decent sized rub for public land. I think I need to, I've been looking at a map, following a map. I think I need to cut down along the draw right here. There should be one more little finger draw, and then I'm gonna run into that field hopefully. You can actually see one of the green fields through the trees right there on the other side of the draw, but I think there's one up here also. So I'm gonna hit this one first, cut across the draw on the way back, and then head up the other side on the way out. So looks like there's one ladder stand right there already. And this field bumps up to private land. I think the railroad tracks are right there off the edge of the field, and that's where the public land ends. But there was crop planted in this field, it would be about the perfect size to sit next to with a muzzle loader. It's not super huge. You wouldn't have to shoot too far away. There's deer tracks in the field, not a ton of them. None of them really look that fresh, but it does look like they were running up and down the edge of the field throughout the winter while it was freezing and thawing. Maybe this side will look a little better. Can actually hear a train coming now. I don't know where the tracks are actually at. Looks like there's a little road right here. It says road closed. There's a road closed sign up there, and there's a tree stand right up here also. Just gonna wander back here and see if I can find the sign for the edge of the public land. This is private property right here on the gate. And this must be the little road that takes you down to the other field. Oh, this might be the old railroad tracks. Maybe there's not railroad tracks in here anymore. Well, not really positive if that's public land or not. So there's a fence right here, fence posts. I'm guessing maybe this fence is the border. Could be wrong. Somebody's been messing with a bunch of the signs out here. I think it's to keep people from hunting public land. Some of them on the road up there were folded in half so you couldn't read them. So I think it's people trying to play games so other people don't know that it's public land and that you can hunt it. But I know this field is public. So I'm gonna work my way down the edge, go through that little road over there and get to that little green field. There's a nice little scrape right there. Deer tracks in it. Have not seen any turkey tracks in here, which is odd for me. There's a ton of cover in here for them. I'm guessing that was a scrape this fall. There's another ladder stand and a camera with a lockbox right here. I'm guessing that ladder stand in that camera with that lockbox is the reason there's so many tracks around this hole. I'm guessing that was a mineral site, which is illegal to do in Nebraska. If you can't find them, bait them, I guess. Knocked down the sign right there that says wildlife management area. I'm sure that was a wildlife management area sign that somebody destroyed, so trying to confuse people so they don't know where and they can and can't hunt, which just makes more trouble for everybody, because then people get on private land on accident, and then all the private landowners are angry that they didn't know that they came from public to private. So, I'm just gonna follow. Looks like this little trail just winds through the woods to this green field over here. I'll bring you back on when I get to the field edge. Got some more trash. Seems like I'm finding more trash today than anything, but hopefully it'll build up my karma a little bit, and I'll find a antler for it. Looks like there's some pretty decent sized deer tracks coming up into this field right here. Little open food plot fields like this are fun places to find antlers when they're there, because you can see them from a mile away, and then you gotta wonder what they are the whole time until you walk up to them. Looks like got some pretty good scrapes under these two branches. This piece of public land's about 700 acres, so you could spend a lot of time out here shed hunting and not find one shed. You could find a lot of them in one day, but just because I'm walking through here today doesn't mean that this place is not even close to crossed off a list. Like, you could spend your entire spring shed hunting in just this one piece of public land and not see every piece of it. So I just want to come in and follow your gut and try and go to the spots you think are going to be good and see what happens. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I just walked out of that little green field is right here. I just walked out of the edge of that little green field, and right when I got to the trees, I kicked up about 10 deer that were all bedded up in those cedar trees right there, and they just kind of worked their way up the ridge, up the draw in the cedar tree. So sounds like there's actually still one or two more up in here somewhere, so I'm actually gonna walk over and check that side hill. See, I didn't see any antlers on any of them, but that doesn't mean that they haven't shed them already. I'm guessing that since there was 8 or so deer together in that group, that it's all does, but it doesn't take me that long just to jump across the creek, walk up that ridge for a minute, check. I was just working my way back up the north side of this little draw and found this other little food plot here. I thought I'd turn the camera on and show it to you. It's still another little square food plot. I don't know what they planted it, if they just mow ryegrass in there, or if they plant something in it in the spring. But just saw another deer, took a little video of an owl in the tree up here and some pictures of an owl. So just was sneaking through the woods and taking photos and just ran into this little food plot. So thought I'd show you what it looked like. Just been working my way up the south side of this draw and just found this deer skull. There's no antlers on it, it was just a doe, but it's the first bones I found today. I have seen 3 or 4 owls. I tried to stop and get some pictures and video of them on the way. I saw rabbits and squirrels, all sorts of birds, different kinds of birds. I've seen about maybe 9 or 10 different deer today, just their tails basically out in front of me, you know. But trying not to push too fast because I'm looking for antlers, but I'm also trying not to spook them too much either. Just, I'm not wearing camo, I'm just wearing like a gray shirt, that way they can see me from a long ways away and just move off to where they feel safe, and then I work my way by them and they go back to doing what they're doing. So I'm just going to keep working my way up the side of this draw until I get back to the parking lot. There's also some kind of cool rock outcroppings on the property up here that you could take some pretty cool hiking pictures on or from. So I'm just getting back to the parking lot. I didn't find any antlers today out at Rock Glen Wildlife Management Area, but I did get to scout the property, took some pictures, some video, found actually quite a few deer. I think I ended up seeing like 17 or 18 deer while I was in there. I didn't get a ton of video of them because they were all in the cedar tree infested draws, but just caught glimpses of them as they were running through the openings. But it's definitely a place that holds deer. If you're planning on hiking from this parking lot on the east side back to those food plots on the west side, I definitely recommend bringing something to help you get a deer out of there, a cart or quarter it in a backpack, ride a bike in there, that would be a little easier too, but definitely wouldn't want to have to drag a deer from there all the way to this parking lot. So I'm gonna clean the trash out of my backpack, head back to Omaha and figure out where I'm gonna go next weekend. I'll probably go back up to the family farm next weekend, do some shed hunting up there, work on the deer shed a little more, and maybe pick out a place to put in a couple mock scrapes this spring. So that's all I got.